kick this baby off. What it is, cue the music.
Cue the music.
All right, since last we talked, I've done almost nothing.
Great.
It was a really pretty day out today. I went and I washed my car for 2 hours.
For 2 hours.
Yeah, got some vitamin D. I washed it with like a paper towel.
You have a Tesla, is that correct?
Yeah, I've got the Tesla Model 3.
Is that you're supposed to wash them with a paper towel?
That's what I had, so that's what I used. Also water and some other stuff, but
I mean, isn't it snowing in Wisconsin right now?
right now it was such a beautiful day. It was like 60 degrees, but also the app is like, hey, severe winter storm warning. We're going to get 6 to 9 inches. I'm like, oh, seriously?
That sounds about right.
But that's not until tomorrow. And I don't know if that's here or further out. We'll see.
So 60 degrees and it'll dip down to potential freezing temperatures within a day.
Oh, absolutely.
That sounds like about springtime in Wisconsin.
Yeah. It's almost like the desert.
I guess.
Except for it rains and snows and it's just awful. What have you been up to? You working on anything?
Yeah, the newest thing I've been working on could be considered, I guess, film trailer-esque. And I haven't done really intensive sound design type stuff like that from the ground up for a while. I kind of took a detour into MIDI instrument land for a while. But a lot of the film trailer stuff is really like custom sound designy.
Right.
To bust out the microphones, which is always kind of a little like, all right, fine, I'll do it.
I really to do some actual recording. What were you recording?
I needed some stuff that was kind of like unique percussions and whooshes and stuff like that. So I recorded some bottle caps spinning and some like fluttering of fabric, and I'm just going to process the hell out of those sounds to create like custom risers and stuff like that.
As opposed to just like spending $100 or $200 and getting some riser packs?
I have the rise and hit, and it wasn't making the sound that I wanted it to. Like, there's a lot of stuff that I think is idiomatic to trailer scoring, and I just don't know what packs they use. But there's like one sound that everyone does where it's like, it's not really a riser, it's the exact opposite. I don't know what they call it, a descender?
A diver?
Is that a thing? Is it a diver?
Divers are things. They're like,
yeah, okay. So now that I know what to look for, I could actually probably just buy a pack and make my life a lot easier. I was like trying to like take white noise and filter the crap out of it and then like pitch it down and chop it up like and then I realized I needed like something that would like put gaps in the sound, but it would have to like slow down. It's like that sort of thing. So I was like, okay,
yeah, those are cool.
Now I need to take like a gapper or like a square wave and multiply that by like the white noise, but then modulate the frequency with a sine wave, and it was like a whole thing.
Yeah, but once you have it, now you're that guy with that.
Right, and then you need to, and then take like another sine wave or another whatever, and like pitch that down so that kind of like lowers in pitch at the same time as you get this chopping white noise sound or whatever. It takes an awful lot of time, and I feel like if you're going to be working on any sort of trailer music, time is kind of the essence, right? Like I've never really done this. It's
always better to go fast.
Right. The other thing that I've been having a problem with is finding MIDI instruments then that will match this sound world. Because like I've tuned all these pianos and created all these different like sorts of synths and stuff. And now when I put my MIDI instruments in, which before were working just perfectly fine, now they're like, they're so synthetic sounding.
Well, I mean, were they good in an all orchestral sense?
Yeah, I mean, I thought they were.
Okay.
I've used them in full like orchestral arrangements and stuff like that, and they never really bothered me. But there's also like every possibility that I'm just not writing correctly with them. So
yeah,
I'm gonna opt to blame the software. But
yeah, usually when it comes down to is it the software or is it my arrangement? It's usually my arrangement.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
I mean, that's what it'll inevitably be. But like, I'm not going to choose to believe that until I absolutely have to.
I'm generally a Cinesamples guy, and I believe you have. What, the Spitfire?
I both Hollywood, the Hollywood strings and Spitfire. And then recently I actually bought the Cinesamples too because they have like a 75% off sale right now.
Oh, sweet. What'd you get?
It's just like I got the whole pack. Like I got there's like just it's the core strings, core woodwinds, core brass, the harp, and something else, and it's all like $600.
The percussion? Was that
Percussion,
thrown in
yeah,
there?
percussion's thrown in there.
Oh wow, that's a monster.
And then I think also like monster low brass, and there's like one other thing. But it seemed like it's not money that I really wanted to spend right now. But when I looked at the deal, I was like, okay, this is normally going to cost like $2,500.
Oh yeah,
That is an excellent deal. I can't not do it.
yeah. There's lots of deals flying from every company right now. It's
Right.
like Black Friday going on. All right, well that brings us to our next segment. It's time for Kevin's Shitty Instrument Corner. That was just horrible. Sample rant. Not this time. This time it's an actual instrument.
Oh, this is like a whole new thing. We need a new theme for this then.
We need It's time for Kevin's real instrument, shitty percussion, grab bag.
That's great. Well, we're gonna flesh that. We're gonna orchestrate that out. We're gonna flesh it out.
Orchestrate that out.
We'll flesh it out in post.
It'll be great. I think we can just leave it or auto tune it. That'll be beautiful.
We're gonna go full on share with this. Quantize it so it snaps robotically. Maybe we'll put a house beat behind it.
Yeah, there you go. That'll be sweet. It's time for Kevin's real instrument, shitty percussion, grab bag. Anyway. So bongos, I know you work with bongos. You do like some cool spy movie stuff.
Yeah.
That pretty much requires bongos.
Crime jazz.
And in general, just cartoons for children. Bongos are wonderful instruments, and I don't know why. I can, because they're small and they're fun. And
I feel like that dates back to like the Flintstones at least, if not maybe even before
Yeah.
that. It's like that it's like that running sound. That
yeah. With the pinwheel legs just running around in blurs, and
I think they call those smear frames in the in the industry.
the Flintstones lived in the longest house. It was
right.
like 40 blocks long, and it just keeps scrolling scrolling past the same windows and the same places.
I've never thought of that. It's like somebody should take one of the episodes and try to map out the Flintstones house topography.
So I've got a couple of bongo samples that are fine. They're great.
Yeah.
The Cinesamples ones are fine. I've got some. They're just all over the place, and I'm not unhappy with any of them.
Sure.
But the problem is, in order to get like a good like bongo beat, you kind of need bongos in order to figure out what you play. Otherwise, you end up with like too many slaps in a row, and it just doesn't sound organic and it doesn't sound real.
Yeah, there's a lot of nuance, I think, to playing any sort of skin with your hands, like a skin drum with your hands. Like, and I think there's things that like you might not, unless you're like a trained professional, there are a lot of things that you probably don't think about, but you would just play.
Right.
And if you're using like a virtual instrument, you actually have to hand choose those samples that you want to trigger instead of just like tapping it with one finger as opposed to like, a full slap, open palms, kind of a little.
Center mute, dead strokes, all of that jazz. And so for $90, turns out you can get a pretty banging set of bongos.
Wow.
Huh?
Those look nice.
Thank you very much. And they're in tune. So I did a lot of hand drumming in college, and we used LP or Latin percussion. I think it's just LP now.
Probably they don't want to bogart themselves into like just being Latin percussion.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, maybe. Or is it like a KFC Kentucky Fried Chicken thing? Because I think Kentucky Fried Chicken came back, and now that's on things, and it's not just KFC anymore. There was big... Anyway, so LP...
There was conspiracy theory based around that, I believe, wasn't there? We were like, they call themselves KFC because legally they're not chicken anymore. And it's like... they're like, no, they just thought that it's better branding. It's easier to fit on packages.
I have heard that about Pringles.
Oh, really?
And Pringles aren't potato chips. They're a formed potato confection item or something.
Yeah.
So Pringles doesn't say potato chips.
Is that true?
I haven't a clue. I doubt it. They can call them potato. Like,
I'm pretty sure that no potato chip is actually a potato chip.
I don't know.
Like you don't think that they're actually like sliced potatoes? I would just assume that they're all kind of like made into a slurry and pushed into a mold.
Oh yeah, no, like Lay's and Ruffles. Those are actually sliced potatoes.
Oh, are they really?
Yeah.
Oh, you learn something new every day.
Yeah, no, but you're definitely right about the potato slurry for Pringles. That's a different animal.
Yeah.
So anyway, I went through, and you can get bongos from like $20 all the way up into the many, many hundreds of dollars. The ones that I picked up are the Aspire series, wood bongos. They tune up great, learn how to tune up your bongos, I guess. I just go onto YouTube. There are plenty of tutorials. They'll tell you like how to crank them down and how to set the heads and all that.
Do they have like standard pitches, or do you just kind of choose high and low and what sounds good to you?
I tuned mine to fourth, but I mean, you can go minor third. You can go probably up to a fifth, depending on the size of the heads.
Interesting.
The only thing I really don't like about this is that they are natural rawhide heads, and I would prefer to not have killed an animal for a stupid instrument.
Do you have to pay more for that, or is a synthetic cost more to make? I actually don't know how that would break down.
Right. I could buy synthetic heads for it, but this shipped with these, and synthetic heads, some people hate them. I don't hate them. I generally like them better, but I mean, they definitely feel differently.
So do you actually play these live, or do you sample them, or what? How do you use them?
So what I do is I go downstairs into my tiki bar and I watch videos, and I just practice patterns. Just make up patterns and practice patterns and just sort of get what it is to bongo into my head.
It's really meditative. It sounds like
it really is. It's really nice.
I am the bongo. Gotta feel the bongo.
And it turns out that I'm not a good enough player to actually record them. But once I know what a pattern is and what it feels like, now it is super easy to go back to the virtual instruments and go, okay, what was I doing? Okay, open, left, closed, right, blah, 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 you know, and when you're doing like hand crossovers, like when do those work, and when can you not do like three in a row?
Yeah, that's a good idea. I use bongos a decent amount in like jazz tracks and that sort of thing, but coming up with patterns has always been a problem because I don't really know how to hand drum. And I end up using probably about 4 samples total, and the rest of them, like there's like this whole kit of like all these different things I just never use because I don't know how.
Yeah.
So it's never occurred to me to actually, play the real instrument.
Yeah, you really can't go wrong. They're super fun, and they make their own idioms. Like once you sit down with them, what you can do with them becomes really obvious.
Right, and I guess you can get like a really good feel for the track that way as well, because you can actually play along to what you're trying to record for, right?
Right. And what kind of grooves you need to do too, because bongos, I like to push them a little forward. I like them to be a little ahead of the beat, a little anticipatory.
Yeah.
And there you go.
It's over $90. That's really not bad.
$90.
What is the most expensive bongo you've come across?
That I've come across? Well, like $400 to $600.
Whoa. Have you ever played one of those?
Like at a Guitar Center or something?
Yeah, like what the difference? How can you really like all right, if you're just like going to be a little old lady that drives these bongos to the grocery store, you can get these. But if you want to be really serious,
I honestly can't imagine them being that much better, and somebody's going to write in and go, dude, the $600 bongos are so killer. I'm like, I don't believe you. These $90 ones, They sound just like bongos. They've got really good, rich... I mean, they are everything that I want in a bongo. Have I played other bongos? Yes, I have played other bongos. I would say djembes makes more of a difference, but I can't tell you why.
I think that the only people that really could are probably people that actually play the djembe.
Yeah.
This is the curse of virtual instruments in general, though, right? Like very good virtual instruments with very good performances can almost be indistinguishable from a live performer unless I'm listening to them side by side. But in the mix, it's like, doesn't really bother me that much. But if it's an instrument that I actually play, then it's like, oh no, that is so bad. I don't know why that instrument is so bad. Like, I had a big problem with, I have a bunch of solo strings in my collection, and I have the biggest problem with my solo cellos, but I also happen to play the cello, and so I think it lacks the sort of nuance that I want, but the instrument is made by the same company as all the other ones, and for whatever reason, the violin, the bass, the viola, those are all fine. But
those are fine, like, it's just the cello that sucks?
Yeah. And I think you were actually the one that pointed out at one point, you're like, oh, that's just because you play it.
Yeah, but now it's time for everybody's new favorite segment. It's time for Drinking with Teoh in New York. Ding!
We're actually going to put a real ding in there. That's going to be great.
Yay, auto-tune. So nobody knows that you are an amazing bartender, or at least used to be before all this shit went down.
Thank you.
So are you are you a mixologist? You just a fancy barman?
I
what
think
are
that
you?
anybody who makes cocktails or could be considered a mixologist probably hates being called that because it's sort of a self-aggrandizing term. And the only person that's going to call themselves a mixologist is probably an asshole.
So then you're a mixologist or wait.
Yeah, right. Like, I can make fancy cocktails. How's that? I have met a lot of composers through my bar jobs, and I've discovered that drinking is one of the things, aside from music, that ties us all together.
There's a reason why there's a drinking segment on Composerish.
Right. It seems like that's one of the things. Like I have met very famous contemporary composers that just happen to pop into the bar. I'm like, oh, I know who you are. Nobody else in this room does, though. That's crazy.
Like Steve Reich or Philip Glass? Who you like? You know what? You don't.
I don't want to name
Nobody
any names.
Starfuck. We don't need to Starfuck. It's fine.
Right, and I don't want to blow up anybody's spot either, and be like, oh,
That's
did you
true.
hear that person likes to drink? And it's like, well, I mean, of course they do, but
It's literally liquid happiness. All right, so it's getting to be springtime. I know there's still snow happening, but
yeah, it's going to be snowing very soon, right?
it's going to be snowing pretty soon here. But it's still springtime, and my favorite, honestly, is it my favorite cocktail? Man, daiquiri is pretty good. I do love a daiquiri, and I know a lot of people are like, daiquiri? Like TGI Fridays? It's like, well, yeah, but yeah, they're better than that.
It's blue or red and comes in slushy form, correct?
You know what? And I don't even mind the blue slushy daiquiris. but like daiquiris are kind of hard to make. Let's see, you need a lime, some sugar, and rum.
Wait. I'm gonna have to write this down. That's a lot of ingredients.
Lime, sugar, and rum, and then you combine them into some sort of alchemical formula, and it's magic. I went in to a bar with my friend Yat, just, in the middle of the day in like October, and, they've got their fancy cocktails, and, we're looking at, $12 to $18 a drink.
Which is about average for a fancy cocktail in New York. We should probably point that out.
Yeah. I mean, they'll go up to, what's the most I've paid? $24, $28. And so Yat also likes daiquiris. So Yat goes into fancy cocktail bar, orders a daiquiri, and the bartender just stops and looks at him and says, all right, where do you work? He's like, nowhere. Why? So is that a thing?
Oh yeah, it's definitely a thing. There are all sorts of like bartender handshakes. It used to be if you ordered a shot of Fernet and a beer, I would assume that you probably work in the industry. But now it's like everyone kind of does that. Fernet had become more popular, and they had like a marketing push. I saw posters in the subway, and people have kind of moved on. So Fernet is no longer the thing. But daiquiris definitely, and especially if you see like a dude. Like a guy who's confidently ordering a daiquiri, because it's one of those drinks that got like this shameful reputation of being like a sorority girl drink or something. I don't know when that happened. I mean, it probably had a lot to do with like the TGI Fridays frozen drink machine thing.
Yeah, it could be. But I mean, when you look at it, it's fucking rum and, cane sugar, and it's a pirate drink. It's a pirate drink.
Everything is made by hand, fresh, by yourself, like basically
Right.
Sugar, water, real fresh squeezed lime juice, and like a decent rum. But I should probably cut that out. I don't want to talk shit about.
No.
Like,
Well, no, just it. Definitely
it's even
not.
funnier. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Definitely not
Yep.
the rum that shall not be named.
It's like, wow, you. What about Rose's lime in a bottle? Is that acceptable for a daiquiri?
or the type of lime juice that comes in a bottle shaped like a.
Oh yeah, the
squeezy plastic
bottles.
I think we should bleep all that out. What about that comes in up shaped like a bleep?
I know they're hard to make. I make daiquiris at home. They're hard to make well. It's not a joke.
It's not that tricky.
It's not a joke thing. Like if you don't got good ice, if you don't got a good shake, you're not gonna get a good daiquiri, man.
I mean, I guess I've spent many years making cocktail after cocktail after cocktail. So after going through that, it's a basic cocktail. It comes from a family of drinks called a sour, which means that there's like a base spirit of some sort. There's some sort of acid, like a juice.
Rum, but not Bacardi in this case.
Right. There's some sort of acid, in this case, lime juice.
Right.
And there's some sort of sweetener. And there's a very common ratio that is used between, like, let's say whiskey sours or margaritas or daiquiris or pisco sours. They're all kind of basically the same thing. And you use 2 ounces of your base spirit, 3/4 ounces of your acid, 3/4 ounces of a sweetener, and then you just shake it all together. Now, the shaking technique is one thing, and the type of ice that you're using is another thing. And if you've been doing it long enough, you can kind of like adjust for all these different variables, depending on what you have. If you haven't done it before, then it might be a little bit more tricky because you can like over dilute it or it's not cold enough.
Right. If you're dealing with melty ice.
The daiquiri is like an industry handshake because not a lot of people were ordering it for the longest time.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's like
if they ask for an agricole daiquiri, that's definitely like you're either a huge booze nerd or you work somewhere. And just because agricole rum is weird. It is like, it's weird.
I've got an agricole here that when people like will do like some rum tastings, and I describe the flavor as being kind of like sucking on old barn wood mixed with like a small burning tire. And that description seems to put a lot of people off. So now I describe it as being like a young green olive.
Does that work? Do people dig it?
More people try it. Almost nobody likes it. I'll tell you this right now. Agricole is a hard sell straight.
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
So assuming that a normal amount of business is open and you can go into bars again, what kind of bar is going to be able to make this drink? You're not going to order this at TGI Fridays.
I mean, you can, but you'll get what you deserve.
I don't know what their rail agricole is. I'm pretty sure they don't have one.
No, you meant an agricole
daiquiri
specifically.
Yeah.
If it's like a cocktail bar, a craft cocktail bar, they call themselves a speakeasy, they probably could make it.
All right. So again, you're probably looking at minimum $14 for this daiquiri, right?
If you can find it for $14 these days, you should go to that bar all the time because that is incredibly cheap for a cocktail. I haven't seen when I first started, cocktails were like $12, and I have not seen anything like that in a very long time.
Oh, okay.
Now you'd be expecting to spend about $20 a drink, but you're not going out and drinking that like all night. Or I guess you could.
Yeah.
Like,
it's daiquiris, man.
I think a lot of people who are listening to this might be like, $20 is so much. But, you have like one drink, maybe two, and then you move somewhere cheaper and you get like beer or something for the rest of the night.
Fair enough. And now I know more.
Probably more than you wanted to, honestly.
I need to get better tasting notes but man, it really does taste like you're sucking on barn boards.
No, I think it's accurate. I mean, there's some things that like you can describe some funky cheeses as kind of being like a stinky foot, and it's not going to be great unless you understand funky cheeses and you're looking for that, and then that's something that you really want.
Right.
There are wines that you can describe as being kind of they kind of have like clay or earth or dirt or like a manure type thing. Or I've described wines as having like a sweaty animal sort of essence to them. It's like, yeah, that's really gross unless you have had wines that kind of taste like that, and you're like, oh yeah, I like that muskiness, that earthiness.
You don't get fired for that? It's like, well, let me tell you about our stinky feet cheese and dirt wines. That's what we got for you tonight.
You got to be cocky. like, listen, you can fire me if you want, but...
that's our show.
So that's the show.
That's the show. That's all I got. I don't know what I'm planning on doing this coming week. I should probably talk about that.
The goal, I guess, the big project for this next week is going to be survival.
Yes, that's my big project for this week. Maybe a little more bongo work if my hand recovers. All right, everybody, later, bye.
All right, thank you for joining us this week. I guess until next time, keep on writing.
Keep on, yeah.